Welcome to another episode of Healing Through Love. Each week, we share ideas, experiences, and resources to increase the awareness of domestic and family violence and to empower survivors to grow and thrive. We talk with experts who share their advice, or with people who have experienced abuse, no matter where they are on their journey. This is all about healing through love. And now, here are your hosts, Sharlene Lynch and Rose Davidson.
The Healing Through Love podcast with Sharlene Lynch and Rose Davidson. In episode 82, Becca Briggs discusses with us how to build empowerment, especially through challenging times, and reclaim your power and worth.
It's usually been a lot of times it's going through a transitional period in their life, whether they have just left a relationship or left a job or had some sort of health situation, some sort of major transition, or they've moved, and just realizing that they feel disconnected from themselves. They don't know who they are. They don't know what they want. They just don't feel happy and don't know how to feel happy again. This is a place I can relate to myself, is like just wanting to be inspired and motivated, wanting to create something, wanting to fulfill a purpose, but not even knowing where to begin to search for what that is, what that looks like, or how to do it.
The Healing Through Love podcast with Sharlene Lynch and Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to the Healing Through Love podcast. I'm your host, Sharlene Lynch from sharlenelynch.com. Healing Through Love is here to help victims and survivors of domestic and family violence find their way back to living a more fulfilling and meaningful life. We interview experts and survivors who share their personal stories and offer advice to those who've experienced abuse, no matter where they are on their healing journey. As well as the Healing Through Love podcast, we hold annual Pamper days here in Adelaide, South Australia, for survivors of domestic and family violence, where local businesses come together and pay it forward by providing their services and resources to give a much-needed day of indulgence. Think day spa on steroids. We're looking for organisations and people with similar values, so get in touch with us if this resonates with you. I'm really proud to say that Healing Through Love has gone global, and now we've got 8 different Pamper days happening around the world. So no matter where you are, I'm sure we've got one that's close enough to you. And I've got a very special guest with us today. I've got Becca Briggs. She's a certified life coach whose mission is to guide others to reignite their creative passions and purpose, and to help them break through their personal blocks and to pressures and expectations from others, so that they can finally live the true themselves and in their inner desires. Using a variety of powerful modalities and insights, she guides her clients through the change and unhealthy patterns and stops giving them their energy and their power, so that they can stand in their own power and authority to the wrong areas. And she lives more confidently, authentically, and more unapologetically. Okay, that's a lot. Where do we start with that conversation? How did you, Becca, get started on a journey like this?
Yeah, so my personal journey started, I would say, probably back in like 2011, 2012, was kind of the very beginning of me discovering personal growth and healing. And at the time, it was a weird journey at the time I was in a very unhealthy, emotionally abusive relationship. And so I was trying to work on myself, but within that relationship, there's only so far I can go. And so that kind of happened for a couple years until 2015, when I had a realization that I did not want to stay in that relationship anymore, that I was holding myself back in a lot of ways and was feeling very trapped and very stuck and overwhelmed with the hardships and expectations of what other people had on me. And so I left that relationship and dedicated the next few years to really focusing on who am I? Who's Becca? What does Becca want? What does a happy, healthy life look like for me? What is possible for me? And just kind of snowballed after that until leading me down the path of now coaching and helping other people stand true to what's correct for them and breaking the molds of what other people have put on them on who they need to be.
I love it. I love it. So you had your own personal experience, and then from that you grew, and now your mission is to grow others. So who specifically do you work with, Becca?
I primarily work with, I refer to them as like the creative sensitives of the world. As somebody who grew up being very creative driven and was always told that I was too sensitive or shamed for being too empathetic, too emotional, too this, too that, and felt like I grew up, being told that all of that was wrong and this is who you need to be instead. Is I help those like-minded people who have grown up feeling like they didn't belong and that people don't really see them for their gifts and values that they're here to share, and how your creativity, how your vision, how your sensitivity is actually your strength, and how you can proudly, unapologetically showcase that to those around you.
So would it be safe to say introverts?
Not necessarily. I do work with a lot of extroverts as well, but just people who are very like deep, introspective, loving, giving, empathetic, creative, artists and of all different types. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So do you use any type of psycho profiles or anything like that to actually help the people identify where they are?
I do. So I do use a blend of Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, and human design with my coaching clients. One of the things I love with using these tools is, I would say, fighting against the stereotypes that a lot of people use it to label people, put them in a box and say, this is who you are. And my intention with it is really to break down the walls of those boxes and say, okay, this is probably what feels correct for you in these circumstances. This is what you're here to share, but you are so much more than just this. You have all these multifaceted sides to you and different aspects of yourself that you're here to share. And how are you actually a multidimensional being versus just being in this box?
So when clients come to you, what's like their main pain point when they're coming to you?
It's usually been a lot of times it's going through a transitional period in their life, whether they have just left a relationship or left a job or had some sort of health situation, some sort of major transition, or they've moved, and just realizing that they feel disconnected from themselves. They don't know who they are. They don't know what they want. They just don't feel happy and don't know how to feel happy again. This is a place I can relate to myself, is like just wanting to be inspired and motivated, wanting to create something, wanting to fulfill a purpose, but not even knowing where to begin to search for what that is, what that looks like, or how to do it.
Wow. So, so now is your audience local or are they more abroad? Who do you normally work with?
A little bit of everyone. So I do work primarily remotely, so I can meet with anyone no matter what part of the world you're in. But at the beginning of this year, I moved to a small town in Oregon in the US. So I've been seeing a lot of people locally here as well. And that's been a really powerful experience to just get to connect, especially connecting with other coaches and practitioners and combining our skills and our unique gifts to create offers for the people in our community. It's been a really powerful experience.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So, do you offer retreats or in person, or is it predominantly online? How does it work?
Yeah, so most of my coaching is done online. Like I mentioned, I do events here locally with people. I would love to do retreats as well, just haven't quite gotten there with all of the projects and ventures that I'm on quite yet, but I would love to be able to incorporate travel and bring people to share in a really expansive healing space that retreats can offer.
Yeah, the retreat industry is just become insane. We've never seen a growth index like this before on this planet. They're saying by 2025, it's going to be a $7 trillion industry. So that speaks a lot of where people are and where they want to spend their money and what they're looking for. They're not just looking for a holiday. They're looking for a wellness retreat so that they can incorporate, being outside their normal zone and also that next level of evolution for them. I love it. So yeah, we're living on a planet that is expanding at a rapid rate. I love it. Wow. So what's next for you?
Oh, what's next? I'm in the process, I'd say right now, I'm making an Oracle deck that I'm almost done with. I'm gonna say like I'm 90% done with. I've been working on for the last couple years, so that will be a big milestone to have complete. And beyond that is just really expanding and connecting with people and helping. I feel like the more that I can contribute to helping people embrace and accept their true selves and heal from the ways that they're holding themselves back in an empowering way, the more that I'm trying to think of how to word this. I think like part of my mission is I think that when we're living true to ourselves and true to what empowers us, makes us happy, makes us confident, makes us feel our best versions of ourselves, we're less reactive to the world around us. So you get people that are less conflict driven or just less conflicts with other people, less miscommunication, lack of empathy. Like we really can connect with each other on a stronger level. And I think it's a way to bring community through self-empowerment. And so I just want to stay true to that mission and keep building and growing and doing what I'm doing there.
Yeah, community is so important because we're all in this together. So where is your community? Is it online or in person, did you say?
Yep, both. Yeah. I have a moon circle community that I have on my website where I do moon circles on the Mondays closest to the full moon and new moon. I'm on social media and consider that my online community, if you will. And then where I am in Oregon doing in-person events and expanding on the community up here as well.
Yeah, it is. It is about community. It takes a village, absolutely. It's amazing. Now, tell me about the Oracle deck. I've got to ask, did you use an AI to create the imagery?
No. I guess as a creative driven person, I can see some benefits of AI. I can see why people are drawn to it, but I fully believe in cherishing the arts. And there's so many artists in the world that are very talented and go unnoticed from technology. And so I created it myself through like graphic design, but not through AI.
Excellent. So so are you the artist or have you employed artists with the deck together?
No, I did it. It's abstract art. Because I do art myself. And so I did it's a alcohol ink kind of art-based design on it. And then within the Enneagram is talking about the light and shadow sides of the different Enneagram types. So kind of like I mentioned with your question earlier is I think a lot of times these personal growth systems can put us in a box, and a lot of people stay on the surface of the stereotypes and, oh, you're this type, this is what you do, or this is why you do what you do, and then people just stay there. But with my intention with this deck is really to expand on how we all have access to the energies of all 9 Enneagram types. And within every type, there's a light and shadow, and it's not black and white, but we fall in this gray area within this entire spectrum of all these 9 types, or 27 if you include all the subtypes. So kind of bringing that awareness in there so people can be more self-reflective and a little bit more graceful with those different energies and tendencies that we have.
Yeah, so if we have a better understanding of ourselves to start with, and then also a bit more grace for others and how they process and do things differently, I think it allows us to have a more connected community. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I love it. I love it. And wow, so that's fascinating. And so and you want to do retreats, which is fabulous.
Yeah.
In all of the world, where would be the place that you would start and have your first retreat?
Oh, that's a trick question because I feel like I've barely traveled. Like I've traveled a little bit. I love traveling, but I feel like I've barely scratched the surface of all the amazing places to go to. Ooh, I could go anywhere.
Anywhere.
Anywhere. Um, hmm. That's a good question. I'd want to do somewhere that isn't like, you see a lot of retreats and everyone goes to Mexico or Costa Rica or Bali, and I would want to go somewhere different. I'd want to go somewhere where you don't really see a lot of retreats happening. I don't know, maybe somewhere in Europe or like Japan's high on my bucket list in general, but like I would go somewhere different that you don't already see a lot of retreats happening at.
Japan does have a unique frequency. The gardens, it's just
Mm-hmm.
just being there, and the people are really different too. I've traveled a lot, and it's the only country that I've been in where I get lost a lot. Totally dyslexic, so I get lost a lot. And it's the only country that I've been in that I was lost and I asked for assistance, and that person said, let me take you there. And they got on the bus with me and they took me to my destination. And this is before Uber and everything else. That's a while ago.
Yeah.
I am 57, so it's a while ago. But they actually went with me. And when we were back at the hotel, I said, I've just never experienced that level of hospitality. And they said, well, it was respect, because that's fundamentally the culture. And they were also learning English from you as well. So they were asking you questions, weren't they? I'm like, well, yeah, they were talking a lot. And so they're having the opportunity to have a communication. So, yeah, Japan is a special place. I love it. It's very picturesque. And you're right. It's a beautiful place to have a retreat. Funny you should say Bali, because I'm off to Bali in February.
That's high on my bucket list too. Looks beautiful. I would love to go to Bali.
I think it's very popular for Australians because it really isn't very far. It's like 5 hours for us. It's just up there. It's not very far at all. And you guys travel more than 5 hours just to get across the states. So
yeah,
it's really next door. And I think the price point too. So it's not very expensive to run a retreat there as well, which means that you can offer more for people. But it's also the cost of travel as well. So what I've noticed here in Australia is that we've had lots of people doing local retreats. So that an opportunity to find a beautiful location that has, I don't know, a property with a different frequency and some point of interest, and getting collaboratively other healers together to create a retreat. There seems to be, I've not seen in my 30 years of coaching, I've not seen this level of interest in retreats before. It is, and it's only just starting to run up. It's going to peak at an astronomical rate. And I love the concept myself. If I could do a retreat every weekend, I'd be a happy human. Yeah, I love it. I love it because we are seeking experience, aren't we? And when we can help our clients get that, it really does make an impact for them. So I love this. I love your concept about having a closer look at who you are and having a better understanding who others are, and taking yourself out of the box. I think that's fantastic. And it's weird. Humans are weird. We want a label so we know where we are, but then we don't want the label.
Yeah.
And just it's like we want to know where we fit in, but then don't label me that way. So, but I suppose we need to have some sort of language around figuring out how all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle fit together. I love it.
Well, and it's interesting because I think part of it is we want to be seen and understood and accepted, but then I wonder if a lot of it also comes from not wanting to be seen, like this vulnerability, or like, oh, I want to be seen for this, but I don't necessarily want to be seen. And that kind of gets into the shadow work side, is like, maybe I don't want to be seen for my shadows, or maybe I can't accept some of the shadow sides of me. So it's better if, I don't want to be labeled and fully seen in this regard, because I can't accept that.
Yeah.
So how could others?
I absolutely hear you. We were interviewing a photographer yesterday, and he's just released a book, and it's a book of homeless people. That was the pictures were taken during COVID. So, and each picture tells a story. That there's not one woman in the book. So, and I asked him, I said, well, clearly the percentage of women who are homeless is almost higher than men. So how come there were no women? And he said it's because we weren't at a point where they could give us permission to take the photo. We could have a conversation with them, but for one reason or another, they didn't want to be seen. So look, isn't that fascinating? So when those in our proximity that need the most help don't want to be seen, where are the rest of us? Yeah. And can we be seen enough to show up for them and make a difference for them? Yeah. I love it. Many of our people in our proximity with family and domestic violence are on the streets and in caravans and in tents, because the housing challenge here in Australia is at its worst it's ever been. Even during the Depression, it's worse now than it has been. And our hearts go out to those who are listening that don't have a warm place to stay. And we're hoping that through the work that we do with Healing Through Love, the funds that we raise and the connections that we create, that we can create a better community and to help change the lives of those around us. I love it. Wow, Becca. So a beautiful story of how you've got from where you are to where you are now, and how you want to move forward. I love the fact that you're interested in doing a retreat. I think that's amazing. And I'm really fascinated about the oracle cards. I would love to know, how do these differ from other oracle cards?
So I'll say one of the biggest things that I honestly haven't seen in a lot of decks before, that kind of inspired me with it, is the idea of it having a light and shadow on each card. So the idea is very similar to tarot, that when you do tarot, there's usually an upright meaning and a reverse meaning, if you use reversals with your cards and your deck. And so I wanted to incorporate that, where a lot of oracle decks, it's just you get one card with this message on it. And I wanted it to be more expansive, and kind of like I mentioned before, is the light and shadow within each energy of each type. And even though some of the cards are very similar, where one side will have we'll call it like the light or the higher self statement, and then the shadow, that they're very similar vibes, but a little bit different. Of this is how I show up at my best, and this is how I might show up at, like, not my best, and seeing two sides of the same coin. Because I've personally, through my own growth, have found that has been the key to healing, is truly acknowledging and accepting the shadow sides of myself that maybe I didn't always want to see. And it's not to blame anyone or villainize anybody for these traits, but I think that the sooner you can acknowledge and accept it as part of your existence, as part of your truth, the easier it is for us to release attachments to them. We're not identifying with them. They're just something that is existing in a moment. And it becomes more fluid and more able to flow out and not feel so confined, or again, like with not wanting to be seen. It's not like this mask I think of like a mask of stone that's covering us because we're trying to hide behind it, but it's controlling what we do. It's just let it go.
Yeah, it's having that level of awareness so that we can just observe, and we don't have to hold ourselves in any frequency for it. We can just observe. Don't necessarily need to make it wrong. We can just have that observation, and then, we can move forward and give that space between thought and action. I love it. So, wow. Okay, now you run a quiz, is that right? That's on your website, and it's in and around identifying your archetype and where you are and where it is that you have the possibility to go. Is that right? Can you tell us a little bit more about that quiz?
Yeah. So one thing that helps when I am potentially working with clients, or what I would say, if you're on your self-growth journey and you're kind of at this point where like, well, I don't know what I need to do next. Maybe you're at point zero, you're just starting and you're like, what do I do? Or maybe you've been on your self-growth journey and you feel like you've been getting somewhere, but you're not quite where you want to be, but you're like, well, where do I go from here? I've been doing all this work. Well, now what? So I created an archetype quiz, free archetype quiz that's on my website, about the next transformation that you need, or that you're ready for. So that kind of bringing to light, bringing that awareness to, okay, here you are now. This is probably what you've been experiencing, where you are. This is probably the next steps of growth. And these are the tools and resources that could help support you in making that next transformation happen.
I love that. So this is a self-paced quiz, and then it gives you a response to say where you are now and what's the next level of your evolution. Yes?
Absolutely. Exactly. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So now that link is going to be in the show notes and also in the description, and just click that and that will take you through to Becca's website, and you'll be able to do the quiz, which is fantastic. That'll also put you in Becca's orbit as well, so that you'll be on her email list and be getting beautiful, nurturing emails from her in and around the offers that she shares. Is that right?
Absolutely.
So now if someone's interested in working with you, like what's the process? Is there a current program that you have? Is it one-on-one? Is it in a group? How does someone work with you, Becca?
Yeah. So currently I do one-on-one work right now. I have a couple different options. So like I said, I use a mix of Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, human design. I do hypnotherapy, Reiki, all sorts of modalities. So I have an option for just a single one of those sessions. If you want something very particular, if you want human design reading, if you want an Enneagram session, hypnosis around a certain area, timeline integration, I can do just a one-off. I have something called a deep dive, where it's an all-day intensive where we combine a mix of these modalities custom for you to really give you a full day just about you and your growth and your healing. And I'm there to support you through all of that. Or I do have a one-on-one kind of long-term coaching option, which if somebody is interested, similar, going to my website, beccabriggs.com, reaching out to me, and we custom build a coaching package for you based on your needs, the tools and resources that I can help you with, your budget, all of it, to make the support that you will see the most change from.
Oh, I love it. So it's great to have so many flexibilities and how to work with you. Wow, we've learned a lot today, Becca. We've learned about the journey and why you lean into the work that you do and all of the beautiful things that you bring to the table. I love the fact that you've got an oracle card coming up. I think they're amazing. I do mine on a daily basis, and it just helps me as part of, what is the universe? What is God? What do I need to do to move forward today? And it just gives me some quiet time to enjoy a cup of tea as well.
Yeah.
I love it. And I love the fact that you use all these other modalities to help your clients get the best that they can and help them move forward. It's lovely. And thank you so much for sharing that free offer of the survey, so that we can actually do that and figure out where we are in that archetype and what it is that we need to move forward. Now, before we finish up today, I'd just love to know, have you got some words of wisdom for our audience?
Words of wisdom. I had to share anything. I think one of the biggest things that's been standing out to me in my life right now is to be open to experiencing change. I think a lot of times, if we're somewhere that we know is not good for us, or that's making us unhappy, or we feel stuck in our situations, a lot of times the biggest thing that is keeping us there is like a fear or uncertainty of what's on the other side. And just going from my experience from like I said, my unhealthy relationship that I left, had I not left that relationship that felt really safe and secure at the time, but was actually really toxic and abusive in a lot of ways, I would still be there now. But sometimes you have to trust that on the other side of change is something beautiful and amazing, and trust yourself to hold yourself to get there. You're not going to let yourself fail. You're not going to let yourself suffer. That what's on the other side is amazing and beautiful and beyond what you can imagine right now. So just holding that space for yourself and trust in yourself that it will happen, and embracing the change and uncertainty.
I love that. Thank you so much, Becca. If you're listening today, you can reach out to Becca. The links are, as I said, in the show notes and also in the description. And if you're listening today and you would like to be an assistant, a participant, and actually pay it forward at our Pamper Days, please reach out. We really would love to have a room full of wellness practitioners to hold the space for our survivors and help them see that more is possible, and that they have got community and proximity and people do care, so they can move forward. If you're not a wellness practitioner, but you're a really good organizer, we'd love to hear from you, because it takes a lot of organizers to make this happen, and lots of different skill sets. So please reach out to us. As I say, we've got 8 now happening globally, and with more every couple of months. We've got a new one popping up. So we run a program where we teach people to run these events as part of the service of shifting awareness for family and domestic violence globally. And we'd love to help you step into that power and make a difference for others. It's been a privilege and a pleasure to chat with you today, Becca, and share all of your wisdom. And it's a goodbye from me and a goodbye from Becca.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Healing Through Love. You can get further resources, see the show notes, or simply reach out to us via our website at htlaustralia.org. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to your company next time on the Healing Through Love podcast.